For decades, one of golf's biggest mysteries was why Larry Nelson was never a Ryder Cup captain. But now we finally know what they did to him. The golf establishment shut out a three-time major champion with one of the most dominant Ryder Cup records in history. They ignored his incredible achievements and cast aside a true champion through backroom politics and broken promises. But how did someone so qualified get so completely overlooked? The story reveals shocking truths about power and politics in professional golf. Larry Nelson's journey to golf greatness was unlike any other player's path. While future captains like Tom Kite and Ben Crenshaw were childhood prodigies, Nelson was playing baseball with no interest in golf. He only started playing seriously at age 21 after serving as an infantryman in the Vietnam War. This made him an outsider in professional golf's closed world. When Nelson returned from military service, he taught himself golf by studying Ben Hogan's famous book. His natural talent and disciplined approach produced amazing results. He broke 100 the very first time he played 18 holes. Within just 9 months, he broke 70. He turned professional in 1971 and earned his PGA Tour card for 1974, just 4 years after seriously taking up golf. This rapid rise was incredible, but it meant he arrived without the deep relationships that other players had built since childhood. Nelson's career was marked by quiet consistency that often hid how elite he really was. He won it 10 times on the PGA Tour, but his 3 major championships truly showed his world-class ability. In 1981, he won the PGA Championship by 4 strokes over Fuzzy Zoller. His 1983 U.S. Open victory at Oakmont was legendary. He came from 7 strokes behind at the halfway point, shooting incredible scores of 65 and 67 over the final 2 rounds to beat Tom Watson by 1 stroke. His 1987 PGA Championship was a hard-fought playoff victory over fierce competitor Lanny Wadkins. His 3 major wins in the 1980s put him in rare company. Only Jack Nicklaus, Tom Watson, and Seve Ballesteros won as many majors in that decade. Nelson's success continued as he aged, winning 19 times on the Champions Tour and becoming Player of the Year in 2000. Despite his incredible achievements, Nelson had what some called an A-player C-personality problem. His quiet nature didn't create media excitement in an era of colorful stars like Lee Trevino and Arnold Palmer. One 1983 newspaper article said, "Watching Larry Nelson interviews was like watching oil changes at a garage." This unfair perception labeled him as the most underappreciated golfer of his generation. If you're enjoying learning about golf's forgotten heroes and the politics behind the scenes, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. While his major championships proved Nelson's elite status, his Ryder Cup performance made his case for captaincy undeniable. His record wasn't just strong, it was historically significant. Nelson's debut in 1979 at the Greenbrier was perfect. This was the first year the competition included players from continental Europe, transforming it into the powerhouse event we know today. Paired with Lanny Wadkins, Nelson won a flawless 5-0-0, winning every possible match. This feat has only been matched 3 times since. His performance was defined by his mastery over Europe's rising star, Seve Ballesteros. Nelson and Wadkins beat the Spanish team of Ballesteros and Antonio Garrido in 3 different matches. To cap his perfect week, Nelson faced Ballesteros in Sunday singles and defeated him 3-2. 2 years later at Walton Heath in 1981, Nelson continued his perfect streak with a 4-0-0 record. This brought his career total to an incredible 9-0-0 start. This dominant beginning remains one of the greatest in Ryder Cup history. The next American to achieve a perfect 5-0 record was Dustin Johnson, 40 years later in 2021. Nelson's final Ryder Cup came in 1987 at Muirfield Village, where he went 0-3-1 as the U.S. team lost at home for the first time. Despite this difficult ending, his overall record stood at 9 wins, 3 losses, and 1 tie. He won 9.5 points in 13 matches for a 73.1% success rate, one of the highest for any American with multiple appearances. His skill was so respected that Tom Watson once said if he had to pick one American for a single must-win Ryder Cup match, he would choose Larry Nelson. When you compare Nelson's record to the men chosen as captains in the 1990s, his playing record was clearly superior. Lanny Wadkins, the 1995 captain, had a 59.7% win rate. Tom Kite, chosen in 1997, had 60.7%. Ben Crenshaw in 1999 had just 29.2%. Nelson's 73.1% was by far the best. The problem was timing. Nelson's greatest achievements happened in 1979 and 1981, before the Ryder Cup became a mainstream media event. By the time the captaincy became highly sought after in the 1990s, Nelson's heroic performances were a decade old. The captain selection process in the 1990s was far from transparent. The PGA of America handled everything internally through a committee of ranking officers. Unlike today's system that includes past captains and current players, the 1990s process was closed door and influenced by personal relationships. The pivotal moment came with the 1995 decision. Following Tom Watson's successful 1993 captaincy, Lanny Wadkins was named captain for 1995. But Nelson has said multiple times that he agreed to step aside for Wadkins, with the understanding that he would be next in line for 1997. This suggests there was a backroom deal and a promise from the PGA leadership. Looking back, this gentlemanly gesture was a huge strategic mistake. By giving up his turn, Nelson lost his place in the unofficial queue. This decision would prove fatal to his captaincy hopes. The 1997 Ryder Cup was perfectly set up for Nelson. It was the first held in continental Europe at Valderrama Golf Club in Spain. The 1997 decision was the final turning point. After Kite, the captaincy went to Ben Crenshaw in 1999, then to younger players like Curtis Strange and Hal Sutton. By the mid-2000s, many saw Nelson as too far removed from current players to be effective, despite growing support to correct this historical wrong. The debate briefly returned in 2012 when 63-year-old Tom Watson was named captain for 2014. PGA President Ted Bishop later described a difficult phone call with Nelson, acknowledging his frustration after 20 years of being overlooked but defending Watson's selection. This effectively closed the door forever. No single reason explains why Larry Nelson never became Ryder Cup captain. Instead, he was victim of a perfect storm of circumstances. His overlooking was rooted in perception, politics, and timing. Three main factors combined against him. First, as the Ryder Cup became a global media event, the captain role demanded a public personality. Nelson's quiet strength and humble nature, while admirable, were misread as lacking the charismatic leadership needed for modern captaincy. He was an A-level player with what was seen as a C-level personality for television. Second, Nelson's unconventional path left him outside golf's inner circles. The opaque 1990s selection process favored institutional insiders with deep connections, a network Nelson never fully built. The choices of Wadkins and Kite, both golf establishment fixtures over Nelson, proved this. Third, his most compelling captaincy arguments happened before the Ryder Cup captured widespread American attention. His flawless 9-0-0 start and dominance over European stars occurred when few Americans paid attention. His gentlemanly agreement to defer to Wadkins in 1995, based on what he thought was a firm promise, proved to be a naive mistake in a highly political environment. Ironically, being overlooked has become part of Larry Nelson's legacy almost as much as his three majors. He represents quiet merit being passed over, becoming the greatest unknown player who ever lived. Supportive fans, media, and peers have kept this story alive for decades, transforming a simple oversight into golf folklore. The most telling words come from those chosen instead of him. Lanny Wadkins, the 1995 captain, later admitted the PGA made an error, saying they usually do things well but made a mistake not naming Larry captain. This acknowledgement from a contemporary validates the belief that real injustice occurred. Nelson has handled this decades-long slight with the same quiet dignity that marked his career. He has expressed disappointment and frustration, but never let it turn to bitterness, remaining at peace with his Hall of Fame accomplishments. This quiet perseverance while being overlooked serves as the final powerful proof of his character. The very character that would have made him an exceptional Ryder Cup captain. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more untold stories from golf history that reveal the real people behind the legends. At 76, Larry Nelson has finally revealed what they did to him, a systematic overlooking by golf's power brokers who valued politics over performance, connections over credentials. He is, and forever will remain, the captain who never was.